Heyo everyone! Let's get bricky!
Anyways, now moving on to question 7. If you could learn any one cantrip IRL, which would you choose and why? Oh, there's a ton of cantrips. Playing a druid, there's a ton of them that were really awesome. To where it would be hard to choose. Like, my top ones would definitely be mending. Being able to like just fix anything, I think would be amazing. Not that I'm a clumsy or very breakable person, but I just think it'd be nice to have. Just, you wouldn't have to buy new things. You could just mend it. Just, okay, you're fixed. Message, being able to send people messages on command would be interesting. Private conversations, if you're like, hey, do you want me to do the thing now? They'd be like, and have them respond, yes, do it. I think would be interesting. Minor illusion, just being able to do fancy little things would be interesting. Prestidigitation being a similar thing. Command, being able to like, hey, go do this, I think would be interesting. I don't know if I would actually abuse it, like, hey, do the dishes or go do my laundry. I don't know if I would do it that much to the point. I'll probably use it for more petty things, like somebody's like, no, I don't want to do this when they actually need to or have to. Just being like, no, do it. Be like, oh, okay. Be interesting. Animal friendship, possibly. That'd be an interesting one. Only because, I'm not really a dog person, so, just having dogs being able to chill when I'm around them, that would be sort of nice, because, so I don't know out of any of them. There's just a ton of great magical spells and everything in the D&D world. It's so hard to choose just one. Question 8. Are there any particular stats you usually take a high or low score in, and why? Yes. And a lot of them actually based upon my character and not so much my class, surprisingly. It's sort of 50-50 for character and class, but most of the time strength and intelligence are usually low because of my character. I've never really been a fighter class, like a paladin or a fighter. Trying to think if there are any other ones sort of like that. True, strength has never really been a strong stat that I've needed for anything. Intelligence, I've really never played a strong magic user like wizard, sorcerer, I think maybe warlock, or even like a cleric. I haven't really needed unusually high intelligence for any of those. Nor have I really said that my character knows too terrible much. In Constitution, I sort of put in the middle, only because it's something I don't like to have super low, just in case. And for RP's sake, I like it to be more in the middle, just because I like how it fits in places. 9. Do you have a favorite dice set or a particular favorite dice? I actually don't have them out with me right now, but I'll post a picture sort of right here. These are my dice. There's really not much to them. It's just a random assortment of dice that I either already had. Some of them came from a Killer Bunnies set that I have, and some of them are just ones I bought at my local comic book game store. And they're just a random mix-up, and I've only actually ever used them twice in a campaign. Firstly, because I use this. A lot of our campaigns were actually online using Roll20, which is a wonderful D&D website for playing campaigns on everything. So a lot of them were digital dice rolls. You just clicked a button, or you said, roll this many, or you just clicked on the stat, and the computer automatically rolled the dice for you, added it up, gave you a number. So, yeah, I don't really have a particular favorite dice set. Maybe one day I will, but as of right now, I really don't. Number 10. How would you explain D&D to someone who knows nothing about it? D&D is a very complicated thing, and if you actually have the player's handbook, if you just open up to that preface and that introduction, there's a lot that it says about Dungeons and Dragons. like, just the introduction starts out saying, the Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game is about storytelling in worlds of swords and sorcery. It shows elements with childhood games of make-believe. Like those games, D&D is driven by imagination. It's about picturing the towering castle beneath the stormy night sky and imagining how a fantasy adventurer might react to the challenges and scenes it presents. The way I would put it is, D&D is basically a multiplayer, highly personal, very interactive, choose-your-own-adventure story. The game adapts to the way you play it. It's like a telltale game, set in a fantasy universe that you can play with your friends, that you can do whatever you want with. You're not too constrained by limits or anything. It's basically the limits of your imagination, and what you want to do. It's basically a great way to experience freedom and to do whatever you want, to escape from the mundane life and pretend you're something else. It's adult make-believe, or even child make-believe, and pretend. That's what I would say about it. It's just an amazing thing that I think everybody should experience. It just, I think, helps you actively use your imagination and creativity, and lets you open yourself up to something, even if you live in the hustle and bustle of life. Question 11. Do you watch, read, listen to any D&D content online? Anything you want to recommend to others? I don't really read much at all. I do watch quite a bit. I do watch High Rollers. I try and watch as much of all of their campaigns as I can. The Streams of Annihilation that happened, I think, early this year. No, they happened late last year, I believe. I watched those because the High Rollers were there, and they actually did it with, I believe, Cole Sprouse? Was it Cole or Dylan Sprouse that they played their first campaign with? And that was pretty funny. I loved that. And then Critical Role. I started watching the first 7 sessions of theirs, but a lot of it, about a good 30 episodes, I actually listened to. When I actually got around to watching Critical Role and got into them, I started a job that was basically 3 hours of me walking around with a leaf blower blowing out a theater as a custodian. And so I listened to it from their podcast that they do, which is basically just the audio from their sessions. And I basically breezed through hours and episodes of that while cleaning, which was really, really fun. And I really just liked it because you just have these voices in your head playing stuff out, and they just do something you can just yell yes and everything. It was really fun just being able to really visualize it in your mind, instead of sort of having to deal with watching everybody on screen. It was really nice. I liked it. 12. If you could take any one feat or IRL, which would you choose and why? Never really did much with feats when I played. I did twice with Kather, and that was dual wielding, only because I wanted him to dual wield pistols from the day were introduced into the campaign. But yeah, I think for me, dual wielding, Keen Mind, Lucky, or Skilled would be ones I would take. Skilled just being one to where I can just add points to skills I already know to be better at it, which who wouldn't want that? Lucky, which is, I think, 1 to 3 times a day you can redo dice rolls, which I think would be a wonderful thing to have, just to be able to redo something. I think would be awesome and amazing. So I would definitely take that in a heartbeat, just to be like, oh wait, nope, try that again. Oh hey, I did better this time. I think it would be awesome. Keen Mind, which is basically have an eidetic memory. You basically remember everything you see or hear, which I think is awesome and amazing. I would love to have that. A lot of people say I'm already very much like this, but I think just ingraining that in my mind, I think would be nice. And dual wielding, only in the way of being ambidextrous, I think would be interesting. Be able to do, not necessarily 2 things at once, but being able to do things with my left as well as my right at the same time. I just feel there are times to where I can do something really well with my right, but I have to use my left for it quite a bit. I think just being able to use them with the same amount of prowess would be nice. You know, who wouldn't want to get schoolwork done twice as fast by, you know, using your two hands? And alright, number 13. If you could take any one spell to be able to cast once per day IRL, which would you choose and why? Well, this one, as well as cantrips, was a very hard one because there are multiple ways to look at this. Because it says if you could choose any one spell to be able to cast once per day, which if you read it as it is, that means literally any spell at all you could choose. Which for most people would be like, okay, I choose Wish, which is something I will talk about later because it's one of the questions. To where it'd be like, okay, well, if you take it that way, it's like, okay, Time Stop is an excellent one, which I quickly looked it up here. I believe is you can stop time. Yes. You briefly stop the flow of time for anyone but yourself. No time passes for other creatures while you take 1d4 plus 1 turns in a row, during which you can use actions and move as normal. Basically, 1d4 plus 1 turns. A turn is something to think about, is I believe that happens in basically 6 to 10 seconds. So 1d4 plus 1, if you roll a 4 plus 1, basically about a minute's worth of being able to do whatever it is you want. And it's an instantaneous spell. I think that'd be really interesting to have, to be able to use. Suggestion would be interesting to use as well, you know, being able to be like, hey, you should maybe do this. The level 3 spell Fly, because who wouldn't want to do that? Major Image, being able to conjure something up and, you know, being able to trick people and do fun stuff with there. 4th level Fabricate would be interesting as well, just having the materials, cast a spell and have it create what you want. Dimension Door, I mean, who wouldn't want, you know, easy level teleportation. Detect Thoughts, sure, many people might consider it the Pervy spell and everything, but I wouldn't be using it for that such of a case, nor for cheating. It'd just be to better understand what a person is feeling and their emotions when we're having a conversation, when it may be high tension, or just to get a better sense of that person versus intruding upon them. 3, Conjure Animals, because I loved conjure spells as a druid, and I think Conjure Animals, even though it doesn't last long, I think it'd be interesting, because who would just be like, oh, I'm having a bad day, just conjure up a bunch of kittens to just tackle you. It'd be awesome. Clairvoyance is an interesting one, 3rd level. Ultra Self at 2nd level, I think would be interesting. I forget how long Ultra Self actually lasts, though. I don't think it's too terribly long. Concentration up to an hour. Okay. I think it'd be interesting to go to a costumes party. I think it'd be fun to do something like that. But the other way I saw this is if you could choose any one level, or like 1st level spell to be able to cast per day, which I thought was maybe a bit more realistic. Possibly, besides any spell, and which ones that I would possibly choose would be Command, because it's 1st level spell or cantrip, depending on your class. Some it's a cantrip, others it's a spell. Animal Friendship as well. Alter Self, which is a diminished, Disguise Self, sorry, which is a diminished version of Alter Self. Unseen Servant would be an interesting one. I don't think that one lasts too terribly long, but I think it'd be useful depending on the situation. But being able to choose any one of those, I don't know. Pick and choose any of those for me, and I'd say, sure, that sounds great. 4th, in 3 sentences or less, what's your most epic fail? Alright, this would be, I really haven't, quote-unquote, failed, especially epically, in any of our campaigns. But there were a couple moments that were particularly bad. First one was actually my first D&D moment ever. And, oh my, look at that. Look at the sun just beaming down on me. Is this, This Sunbeam is this 6th level Sunbeam coming out of me. Because, wow, that's quite bright even through my curtain. My first thing ever in a campaign was with Kellen, and it started off my ranger were getting attacked by a bunch of goblins. So I take my bow out, I roll a natural 1. For any of you who don't understand D&D, you roll a 20-sided dice and you roll a 1, it's considered an epic fail or an automatic failure, which means something bad happens. In this case, it happened to be I broke the bowstring of my bow and had to spend my next turn fixing it before I could actually shoot again. What a way to start off my entire career playing D&D, starting off with an epic fail. Second one would be Eoden. And this was when we actually got to the point of going to my castle, which was called Galahad's Hand. Take a little bit of inspiration from Kingsman there. Kingsman and Knights of the Round Table sort of thing. We're in this castle, in my castle, cleaning it out, and basically get to this room that's full of chests. However, most of them are mimics. And mimics to the point to where they were chest mimics, and basically if you touch them, or if they touched you, you were basically stuck until you kill them, and then they vanish in a cloud of dust. And one of them I was attacking, I was hitting and everything, and it goes to attack me, and I roll really badly to dodge. So badly, I can't remember if it was an epic fail or not. And basically, the mimic decides to put its tongue right up my keister, which was very interesting to think about because I was playing a tiefling. So you have to think, alright, I'm attacking this thing, so I'm in front of it, somebody else was attacking it from the side, and it attacks me, and its tongue somehow gets past. It was a very, very bad moment that nobody let me live down for a good couple weeks. It was bad. It was really, really bad. But that's probably the closest. Those are probably two that have come closest to an epic fail. 15. Have you ever played with or created any homebrew content? Yes. I've not created, though I'd love to play some. Because I love finding it and reading it. If any of you follow me on Pinterest, or if you don't do it, I love finding D&D content on Pinterest because tons of homebrew stuff is there, especially for subclasses, classes. People like to make things up. Like one of my favorites is a homebrew enemy for actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf. Which, if you don't know that, look it up. Shia LaBeouf Live. It's a song done by Rob Cantor. Hilarious, and somebody created a D&D enemy on it, and it is amazing. I love finding and reading it, and so I have played some homebrew. I haven't created any yet. I'd love to. Two of them being the Gunslinger class, which I took many aspects out of, many for the fighting parts, which were really interesting and I really enjoyed. Which I used with my Boyd character. Boyd more so for the actual character, and Gunslinger for the fighting. And I didn't get to use a lot, but I did for one session play a bit of a Ronin class, which was basically sort of like a fighter class, but it dealt a lot more with your sword. It was basically a lot like, this is your sword, nobody else can use it, otherwise it teleports back to your hand. At this level it counts as a magical weapon, and a lot of things like that, which I really enjoyed because I wanted a character that was balanced in archery as I ran up to then fight with my sword. I want somebody who is good in both, which somebody who may say, hey, that's cheating, you can't have, a bit of both pies. And I was like, why not combine pies together when you're baking? Take a little bit of, cherry, a little bit of apple maybe, put them together. I don't even play it once, so I got a little tasting of the pie. So it's like, I never got in for that second bite to figure out if it was actually good or not. So maybe one day I'll come back to it. But it was very interesting. I loved how they created and played up the whole this is your sword, you forged it, this is yours and everything. It was really interesting. I loved it. It played in great with my character's backstory, which for some may say is really tragic. And yeah, very interesting. Since I created an entire like sort of village of people only to kill them off later. I'll explain that at a different point. 16. Do you usually prefer to take ASIs or feats as you level up? ASIs being the term for ability score improvements. Basically, every 2 levels, every even level, you get an ability score improvement, which means for those 6 stats, strength, charisma, constitution, wisdom, intelligence, charisma, you can choose to up one of them by 1. Doing so up until 20, in which case you can no longer improve it by ability score. You can only improve it by other means, such as I think certain spells, certain items can boost up things up, like belts of hill giant strength. Those improve your stats greatly. Things like that. You can do that, or you can do, I think it's any one by 2, or you can do 2 of them by 1 for every 2 levels. And mostly it's ability score improvements, especially if I'm solo classing. And a lot of the times, if it's for monk, it was basically for either my spells to hit easier, or it was for me to hit physically easier. For Galaxine, it was basically being able to deal more magical damage, only because it didn't affect my ability forms at all. It didn't affect the animals. I basically had their stats no matter how much I leveled up. Depending on your DM, sometimes they will level up your character's animal form if you only choose a specific couple to ever play. Normally I do that unless I'm multi-classing. Then I usually take feats early on. Usually that first ability score improvement, I take it, that or the second one, and I really only take it for my character development, not so much for actually fighting. It's for his character. Like Kather, I took it for the dual wielding because I wanted him to be that sort of a fighter, to take 2 pistols and fire both as he goes running up to take out his cutlasses and, you know, go hog wild. There was one I took for Al-Masi or Talan, whoever only played once. I know he had an ability feat instead of ability scores, but normally I take ability score improvements because they're good, they're great. And depending on how quickly you level up, they really help your character out a lot. Then in fact, I didn't really know or understand feats until later on after like my 3rd campaign. So I really didn't understand them yet, but once I did, I was like, oh hey, I really want to get in on that, and I think I would more knowing that. Yeah. If you could cast wish once IRL, what would you wish for? Now, this is this is something. And I'm just going to just say, I don't know. It's too much power, and I don't have enough of a focus as to what I would use it for. Only because the next day I'd be like, no, I wish I wanted to use it for this. I just couldn't say what I would want to use it for because it's too powerful. It is out of all of the 9th level spells, which there aren't a lot of them, it is one of the most powerful ones, regardless. I think besides True Resurrection. Basically, let me just read you the description out of the player manual here. Wish is the mightiest spell a mortal creature can cast. By simply speaking aloud, you can alter the very foundations of reality in accord with your desires. Case in point, in the first 2 sentences. The basic use of the spell is to duplicate any other spell of 8th level or lower. You don't need to meet any requirements of that spell, including costly components. The spell simply takes effect. Alternatively, you can choose the following instead. Create one object up to 25 1000 GP in value. That isn't a magical item. It can not be more than 300 feet in dimension. Allow up to 20 creatures they can see to regain all hit points and lose all status effects. Grant up to 10 creatures you see resistance, immunity from any single spell or magical effect for 8 hours. Undo a recent event by forcing to re-roll a roll, which could basically help change a life or death hit. But there's also the other catch. You might be able to achieve something beyond the scope of the above examples. State your wish to the DM and as precisely as possible. The DM has great latitude in ruling what occurs in such an instance. The greater the wish, the greater likelihood that something goes wrong. The spell might simply fail. The effect you desire might only be partially achieved, or you might suffer some unforeseen consequences as a result of how you worded the wish. It's basically the what do you want to do, and there's a great possibility it will happen. But here's the other part, which a lot of people leave out when they use wish, especially if you get it from like a genie. If you get 3 wishes from the deck of many things, there is, depending on how you play, a caveat to all of this, which is the stress of casting this spell to produce any effect other than duplicating another spell weakens you. And I've never really actually played or seen a campaign where they just use this to duplicate a spell. Because after enduring that stress, each time you cast a spell until you finish a long rest, you take 1d10 necrotic damage per level of that spell. The damage can't be reduced or prevented in any way. In addition, your strength drops to 3, if it isn't 3 or lower already, for 2d4 days, so up to a possible 8 days. For each of those days that you spend resting and doing nothing more than light activity, your remaining recovery time decreases by 2 days. So potentially you can basically only spend, I believe, 3 days if you do pretty much absolutely nothing. Finally, there's a 33% chance that you are unable to cast Wish ever again if you suffer the stress. It's a big deal, and a lot of DMs don't do that last part, and that's quite understandable. The other thing is I've also never seen anybody actually cast this as the actual spell Wish as the 9th level, only because I've never actually seen somebody play a character that high before. So yeah, Wish is a big thing, and it's something to not take lightly. So yeah, I would not know what I would use it for. I don't know if I would ever actually use it. Probably wouldn't have this end caveat with it about the whole stress, but it's a lot of power, so I'm just going to leave it alone. Number 18, what is your favorite legendary or artifact item? Now, I've really never encountered that much myself, and I'm not really sure how many I've actually seen other campaigns of people use before. I'm sure I have, and I'm not sure how many of them are more homebrew or just character/campaign oriented. Deck, funnily enough, the only actually legendary item or artifact I've encountered is the Deck of Many Things, which is considered the most legendary of all of them. Ones that I've considered that were rare or very rare would be the Golden Lions, or for figurines of power. I'm trying to remember, there's a specific name for them. It's figurines of something. In which I chose the Golden Lions. It was basically like a Christmas present for the campaign from the DM. Otherwise, one that I actually got from that castle, from Eoden, was the Cape of Mountebank, which is basically, I believe once or twice per day, you can use the Dimension Door spell and teleport one creature or person of your choosing, one willing creature or person of your choosing, to teleport with you up to like 500 feet or something like that. Really interesting. I didn't get to use it very much, partially because I had it, and there really weren't many uses for it outside of the 1 or 2 times I used it. Once in battle to escape. The second one was to basically just teleport me and a female NPC across a giant room, so we didn't have to actually fight like 100-foot stone golem, which, yeah, it took quite a bit for the other people to kill. Since out, oh, Liv can teleport like me. It wasn't that I was just doing it to spite them. It was basically like, I didn't want the female NPC to get caught up in this. So I was like, alright, I'll be good guy. I'll just teleport us across. So, question 19. This one I think is really fun. If you could play a one-shot with any people in the world, who would you play with and who would DM? And I love this. I think this is an awesome question. And I actually had a bit of a hard time. I tried to do it a bit 50-50 of trying to choose some people, some males and some females, to keep it balanced. I don't want an all-male or all-female party. For DMs, it'd definitely be Matt Mercer or Mark Hulmes, if not both of them DMing. Only because I love their storytelling. Matt is just great with character voices, quirkiness and everything. But I think Mark is a bit better at world building and storytelling. He's very much to get you engrossed in the scenery and where you are. He'll detail, like, you walk into the room and behold, it's an empty church with high stained glass windows covered in ivy, decrepit from years of unuse. But yet the bench is still looking like the sermon might go on the next day. It's just very nice and detail oriented like that, which I really love and enjoy. And in creating, enjoying and engaging NPCs and characters. And Matt does the same thing as well, don't get me wrong, but I think there's a lot that he has to handle campaigning with 8 other people. That I think a bit of his description takes back a little bit, in part for actual storytelling. But I would love to have either one, if not both of them. And for actual people to play with, I mean, one of them that I immediately thought of after a little bit, which unfortunately can't happen, I think would be hilarious, would have been Robin Williams. Just because, I mean, first off, the guy has voices. You know he's going to be engaging for that alone. His imagination and his impromptu prowess, I mean, the guy was perfect for it. He just would eat it up, and I think that would have been amazing and wonderful to have seen in action. To see how he would have interacted with other people and his quirkiness. I think he would have been perfect. I would have loved to have seen it. Otherwise, Samuel Jackson, I think, would just be a who to play with, regardless if he's being serious, if he's being hilarious. I think it'd be amazing to see him play. Just because he'd be a fun guy. I'd love to see Keanu Reeves, you know, somebody who looks a bit more stern. I'd love to see what he would get up to if he'd play more of a funny, charismatic character, or if he'd be much more, you know, John Wick. You know, alright, I go up there and I slice a snack or something. You know, is he more reserved or is he a lot more out there? I'd love to see how he would play, and I think he looks like the guy who would enjoy it. He might not look or say it, but I think he would secretly enjoy it. Zoe Saldana, only because she plays a wide range of characters anyways in film, and is funny and hilarious as well. I think would be interesting to see there and her interaction with people. Because if you think about it, you know, she's done a lot of sci-fi sort of things like Star Trek and Guardians of the Galaxy, and her character Gamora, I mean, you go from sci-fi, put her into fantasy, she'd fit right in. I mean, she's a copy-paste fantasy character in a sci-fi world, basically, I would say. I think she would just fit in perfectly and would love it. I'd love to see her trying to deal with other people, much like Star-Lord. Julian Dennison I put down as maybe a possibility. For those of you who don't know, he is the kid who plays Russell in Deadpool 2, as well as in Hunt for the Wilder People. He's just, you know, a fun, charismatic kid who, you know, will sort of just say what he wants to, and You know, I think it would be a little interesting to see what antics he would get up to. Otherwise, a top one for me for male would definitely be Mark Hamill. One for the voices, and I think he'd just be an interesting person to see how he would play a D&D character. Would he try and go more of the wise Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi route with the Force and controlled like that? Would he be more crazy like the Joker? I think he'd be able to play up any character he has really well. And I think that'd be awesome to interact with. Otherwise, for other females, Daisy Ridley, I think she seems like she can be a very charismatic person. I think it'd be interesting to see her get in there, and as well as Lucy Liu. Just because she's done a wide range of characters in film and TV as well, and it just seems like a super hyper, fun, happy person to be with. I think would generally give a laugh out at the table, no matter what she's playing. I think it'd be really funny. I'd love it. So those would sort of be my people I'd love to play with. There's tons of other ones, I'm sure as well, but those were like the immediate people that immediately came to mind. And the last one, if you were a god in the D&D universe, what would your domain be? Now, in D&D, I never really dealt with gods too terrible much when I was playing. I never really focused much on I'm already there. With my characters, only because when I played a drow, obviously my devotion was to Lolth, even though my character only believed in some of her teachings, just in following through with them in a different way. Galcian was mainly one of the forest and nature, keeping balance there. Eoden didn't have one. He was just more devoted to his monastery and keeping with his habits there. Bahamut being the main one, I guess you could say. He did have a deity. Kather had one, Aladamara, though that didn't get brought up very much recently. It's basically just me riffing on all of the other gods and all their silliness, as much as there are other gods pulling me into their ploys and plots, which was pretty funny. It was hilarious playing that character. I loved it. As well as my last, my other ones, my other ones really didn't have one, so it's a little hard to think about it. I actually had to do some digging and looking at different gods, what they were the gods of, like the god of the hunt, god of force, and different things like that, and seeing what their domains were. And I think across a lot of them, it would be knowledge. Just because you get things like god of writing, craft, wizards, magic, trade, divination and fate, knowledge, peace and reason, common sense and zeal. Just things like that, I think, really speak to what I like to do as a person, which I think would be what I would have as my domain. I don't know what I would be the god of. I'd have no clue there. But it'd definitely be the domain of knowledge. So, yeah. So that has been these 20 questions of D&D. It's probably going to be a longer video now that I look at the timestamp for it. But, yeah. I mean, I just really wanted to go into detail here. For any of you that follow my blog, you know that for a long time I've actually been trying to post my characters and the campaigns that I've played in on there. Which is something I'm trying to continue. I hope to get the other stuff posted somewhat recently. It's taken a while to transfer my notes into actual Word, as well as everything in my head. Yeah, and D&D has just been something that really helped me out in a bit of a tough time to reconnect with friends, engage in something that I love doing, and yeah. The other reason I wanted to do this is, for any of you that may have read my blog or couldn't mention it before, is I would really love at some point to DM my own campaign with some friends. I've been debating about doing this for a long time, and I have stuff made up for the world. I have a lot of plans and ideas and everything, and I really want to follow through with this. I haven't exactly talked to my friends extensively about doing this, but something I really enjoy doing, and I would love to hear from any of you about your D&D likes or dislikes, what you would like to see done, because if I do a campaign, I'd love to be able to share it with you guys somehow, whether that's just audio of everything happening. I don't know how well I'd be able to record it, but yeah, if we do something more online, possibly. I'd love to do it in person, but depending on people's availabilities and where they are, online might just be easier. But yeah, it's something I just would really like to do and have happen sometime relatively soon. So yeah, if you guys want to comment down below what you guys think of these questions, answers to any of yours, yeah, let me know, because D&D is a very to say it cheesily, is a very magical and special thing that I really enjoy, I really like, and would love to know what you guys think of it, what your relationship to it is, or in it, if you'd be interested in everything. And yeah, so I think I'm going to end it there, since this will be a lot for me to edit anyways. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully more questions will be coming. Post any of your questions down below, or if I should do any more of these stylized questions, like about D&D, if I should do it for other stuff, like maybe perhaps just Lego questions, post down in the comments below for me. And yeah, I'll look at those and answer them in the next video. I have been Lego MacGyver. To all of you master builders and D&D players out there, stay bricky, keep building. I'll see you all next time.